Welcome to my favorite lecture of the course, the one about leadership. In this week's videos, I will share an overview of the different ways that IO psychologists view leadership. We will also cover some of the strategies that you can use to improve your potential as a leader. I've divided this lecture into 6 parts. In part 1, you will learn about the modern leadership paradigm and the difference between leaders and managers. Let's begin with defining leadership. Most importantly, leadership is a process, not a person, not a job. It's a process that involves leaders, followers, and the organization or the situation. Leaders try to influence followers toward achieving organizational goals. In order to understand leadership, we have to understand the leader, the follower, and the situation. The source of a leader's influence may be formal, such as that provided by rank in an organization. Informal leadership involves the kind of influence that exists outside the typical organizational structure. Informal leadership can sometimes be more important than formal leadership. Maybe you can think of a time when you thought a coworker or an assistant manager was a better leader than the actual manager. Leadership development programs teach leaders and followers how to work together more effectively within a specific environment, within the boundaries created by the organization's goals. Leadership is not the same thing as management. Just because an organization provides its managers with certain rights, certain responsibilities, doesn't guarantee that they will be effective leaders. The way scientists think about leadership today has changed dramatically in the last 100 years. Here are some of the themes of the modern leadership paradigm. Followers are as important to the leadership process as leaders themselves. Influence is a two-way street. Leaders influence followers, and followers influence leaders. Change is facilitated among followers and the organization. Shared purpose creates a sense of unity among followers and their leaders. Integrity means leaders have strong moral character, and they do what's right for their people and for the organization. Leadership is effective when leaders and followers establish high-quality professional relationships based on mutual trust and respect. Without these relationships, leaders can't lead, and followers can't follow. Leaders establish a vision for the company, the department, the group, and they share it with everyone. Leaders and followers work together to get things done. They come up with better ideas and make better decisions by collaborating instead of competing. Leaders welcome change and try to develop themselves, their followers, and their organizations. Great leaders serve their followers' needs instead of their own needs. Again, these are just some of the words that we associate with leadership today. 50 years ago, the way people thought about leadership was very different. When studying leadership, IO psychologists are interested in how well a leader performs. Here are 4 different levels of leadership. When we study leader emergence, we're looking at the degree to which any one person is viewed as the leader of the group. Sometimes the official leader has less power, less ability to influence others than an emergent leader, than an informal leader. Attempted leadership is when a leader tries to influence others. Maybe they have the power, they have the resources, and they make an effort, but they are not actually able to have an impact on anyone or anything. Successful leadership is when a leader attempts to lead and they do in fact influence others. Effective leadership is the best kind. This is when a leader attempts to lead, does in fact influence other people, and the outcomes are positive. The outcomes benefit the followers and the organization. Notice the difference between successful and effective leadership. Successful sounds good, right? But it's missing the beneficial component. Some leaders, like pseudo-leaders, are successful in that they reach their goals, but they don't have a positive impact. Most of the time, we study the bright side or the positive side of leadership, but we also recognize the need to study its dark side, how pseudo-leaders use their power to hurt other people. We call this ill-intentioned form of leadership destructive. Destructive leaders can be successful, but are not usually effective. They may get the job done, but at the expense of their followers, the organization, or both. These leaders are often charismatic and are highly connected within the social networks of the organization, which gives them personal power. When we combine this type of leader with susceptible followers and a conducive environment, we get toxicity and destruction of goals, resources, motivation, satisfaction, commitment, and worst of all, performance. Take a look at what makes a follower susceptible according to this particular model. People who have unmet needs, people who have low core self-evaluations, they don't feel or think positively about themselves and their talents, and coworkers who are less mature than others. Followers can also be susceptible to following a destructive leader if they are highly ambitious, if they share a similar worldview, and if they have quote-unquote bad values, if they value profits over people, if they don't see a problem in lying to get ahead. Earlier, I mentioned that leadership and management are two different processes. Let's take a look at some of those differences. Generally, leaders are responsible for creating an organization's vision and its strategic plan, while managers are responsible for executing that vision and that plan. Leaders tend to focus on long-term goals, the distant future, while managers tend to focus more on short-term goals, what needs to be done today and tomorrow. Leaders have to facilitate change. They have to find ways of improving and competing with competitors. Managers, on the other hand, need to provide some form of stability for the followers. Leaders spend a great deal of time aligning different components of the organization, while managers create assignments, tasks, to-do items. While it's important to know the difference between leadership and management, it's also important to remember that many people serve as both managers and leaders in a single role. Now that you are more familiar with the definition of leadership, we will explore some of the approaches IO psychologists take to studying the process in the next few videos.